لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. All praise is due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be on the last Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and on all those who follow the path of righteousness until the last day. This afternoon's topic, increasing faith in difficult times, assumes that we know what is faith. And actually, for us to be able to look about increasing it, we need to know what it is. So, first and foremost, we need to know what constitutes faith. And faith, as is generally defined according to Islam, scholars of Islam, it is expressed as belief in the heart, a statement made by the tongue, and action upon by the limbs. Or we could call it action on the pillars of Islam and what constitutes Islam. So it begins with belief in the heart, that it should have a basis in our heart, meaning that it is not just something said by the tongue. The statements made which are only on our tongues are ritual statements. They are traditional statements. The things we say and we do, but we really don't believe in them. We do them for cultural reasons, for political reasons, for a variety of different reasons. This is not faith. Whatever comes after that cannot be faith. So it has to be in the heart. That's what keeps it sincere. We all know the importance of sincerity. Allah told us, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. I only commanded you to worship Allah, making the religion sincere for Him. So sincerity is the essence of faith. For it to be real faith, it should be sincere. And that's where we have to start questioning ourselves. Is our faith from the heart? Or is it just a habit that we have been doing and saying from the time we were children? Our parents taught us, We repeated what they said. We went to school and they further taught us. And that's what we have been doing. We never once questioned, is it real? Is it real? Is it from me, from inside my heart? Or is it just a habit I have inherited from my family, my parents, my teachers, etc.? Then we know from Islamic law, for a person to become Muslim, it is required that they express La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, isn't it? It's not acceptable that you just keep it in your heart. Say you had La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, you understood that, but you just kept it in your heart. You never said it. Then faith is not complete. Islam requires you to say it. Why? Because if we don't say it, one, people won't know that we're Muslims. We'll be a Muslim in hiding. And the importance of knowing that we're Muslims is that the rest of Muslims can help us. And we can help Muslims. When they know we are Muslims and we have made ourselves known. So if, for example, when our faith is low and we find ourselves being drawn into haram, and other Muslims see us going where we shouldn't be going, they will stop us and say, brother, sister, where are you going? Why are you going there? You don't need to be going there. You know, you're a Muslim. So they'll be there to help you. Similarly, they can call on you when they need help. They know you are Muslim, you're somebody who can be called on. So it is something which makes you a part of the Muslim community. So it is established as a point of faith in Islam. You must say it. Unless there are special circumstances in which your life is threatened. We all know about An-Najashi. Everybody knows about An-Najashi, right? The ruler of Ethiopia who accepted Islam. But his people didn't know. He hid it from them. He hid it from them in order to be able to protect the Muslims. The Muslims who had migrated there, if he had said that he was a Muslim, the Christians would have killed him. His people would have killed him. And he would not have been able to provide help, security for the Muslims that had fled there in the first hijrah. The first migration of Muslims from Mecca was to Abyssinia, to Ethiopia. So he hid his Islam, not out of fear of death for himself, and that's also permitted. You know, if your father says to you, if I ever hear you become a Muslim, I'll kill you. Okay. You can keep your Islam hidden. It's permissible. But this wasn't his case. He hid his Islam in order to be able to protect the group of Muslims. Some of them were relatives of the Prophet ﷺ who had come there seeking refuge. So, outside of those kinds of circumstances where your life is threatened, then you should express your faith, your belief, on your tongue. And then it should be followed by actions. You have to act on it. You have to bring it to life in your actions. And those are the pillars of Islam. They're manifest in your actions. It is doing the 5 pillars of Islam, understanding, believing in the 6 pillars of Iman. It is living Islam. It is putting Islam into action. That's real Islam. If we are not putting Islam into action, you have people who say, my Islam is not external. I don't wear it like a badge. It's in my heart. It's between me and Allah. I don't need to show anybody. People say that. But those are the people who are not practicing Islam. They have been deluded by shaitan into thinking that it's possible to be a Muslim without practicing Islam. That Islam is only what's in your heart. But we said, it begins in your heart. But if it doesn't end up in action, then it means what you have in your heart is knowledge and not faith. It's knowledge. You know of Allah, but you really don't believe in Him. Because had you believed in Him, it would have been expressed in your actions, in obedience. That's what it means, obedience to Him. So your faith becomes what may be called Satan, Iblis. He knew Allah. That was in his heart. He knew Allah. He had the knowledge of Allah. Meaning he knew about Allah, not Allah's knowledge, right? He knew about Allah. But the point is, knowing about Allah was not enough. So when the time came to implement that knowledge, when he was tested, commanded to prostrate before Adam, what did he do? Disobeyed. And his disobedience turned into arrogance, and his arrogance turned into kufr, disbelief. That's what happened in the end. So that's why we say that belief without knowledge, on one hand, is blind. That was the ritual faith. We didn't really have proper knowledge of it. And if you think that Christians and Hindus don't have belief, don't have faith, they do, but it's false. Christians believe very strongly, maybe more strongly than many Muslims. Hindus, likewise, believing very strongly, committed to their religion. But they don't have the correct knowledge. And that is why faith actually must be preceded by knowledge. To have the right faith in our hearts, we have to have the right knowledge. Right knowledge of what? What I'm asking you, what's the right knowledge? Knowledge of what? Huh? But most simply, of knowledge of Allah. That's where it starts from. We need to know who Allah is. That's your starting point. Knowing who is Allah. If you don't have that knowledge, then you will never understand why Allah is uniquely one. Why He is the one true God. Your idea about God will be that He is three in one. God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Or you will be having the idea that He is a cow, like a billion Hindus, and so on and so forth. You will not know who God is, so therefore your faith will not be right. But you have faith, you have conviction, you have sincerity, but sincerity about what? Sincerity about worshiping a man who you thought was God. Is that of any use? That's of no use. So, faith has to have the correct belief based on knowledge about Allah. And that's why in Surah Muhammad, verse 19, Allah says there, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Know that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. You have to know that. If we don't know it, then we will end up worshipping others besides Allah. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was reported by Uthman ibn Affan as saying, Man mata wa huwa ya'lamu annahu la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah. Whoever dies knowing that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah will enter paradise. That is the promise of the Prophet ﷺ. Whoever dies knowing that, being certain about it, will enter paradise. Now, it doesn't mean that they may not end up in hell for a period of time. Because if one's evil deeds are greater than one's good deeds, still knowing that only Allah deserves to be worshipped, he may be punished or she may be punished for some time. But eventually, they will be taken out of the hellfire and they will enter paradise. But, when the Sahaba heard this, they said, should we tell the people this? Oh, yeah, Rasulullah. Because, people are going to depend on it. But realities, of course, is that we don't want to even spend a microsecond in the hellfire. Don't think that, okay, I'll go there for a while. Don't think that way. Because that punishment is so severe. We will feel as if we are receiving the most severe punishment of anyone in the hellfire. And the fact that we will leave the hellfire ultimately, eventually, will be the farthest from our minds. It will be lost. The pain will be so great we will not be able to even think about getting out. So it's not something we want to play with. We want to depend on. we have to strive to make sure we don't get in there at all. Also, knowledge without actions are dead. If there's no actions on that knowledge, then the knowledge is of no value, the faith is dead. It's the wrong faith, it's the same as being no faith. The wrong faith is the same as no faith. That's why when people ask you, well, what about Mother Teresa? She did all this good, dedicated her whole life to serving needy, destitute, diseased human beings. In a way, you and I wouldn't have the strength to do it. She dedicated her life. But she died believing that God was a man. Those who worship her, because she's made a saint, so people now worship her. They question us, how can you believe that she is going to hell with all of the good that she has done? Reality is, we don't know why she did the good that she did. Because all it takes is for her to have done it in order that people would worship her, honor her, praise her, admire her, and she got that. People do all these things, and the reward for what she has done is given to her in this life, and there is nothing for her in the next. So, belief without knowledge is blind, and knowledge without actions is likewise dead. When we consider knowledge in general, knowledge of Allah, that begins with knowing that nothing takes place in this world without Allah's wish and His will, His permission. Nothing can take place without His will, without His wish. Because we're talking about increasing faith in difficult times. So the difficult times, where did they come from? Who controls these difficult times? If we use the difficult times as excuses for disobeying Allah, then we have not understood that the difficult times came from Allah. Allah is the one who permitted these difficult times to take place. If He didn't want us to find, to discover by accident the internet, we wouldn't have. If He didn't want us to discover how to make movies, we wouldn't have. How to write, to make books. I mean, corrupt information circulating in the world today, which is making difficult times for us. These are some of the big things. Not to exclude Islamophobia with Trump, That's one version. Islamophobia in Europe and other parts. Even the attempt in the Muslim world to keep Islam in the background, to continue to serve Western secular civilization. They would not be able to do it except if Allah gave them the ability. So this is very important to know those difficult times, where they came from. If we understand that they came from Allah, then we would be able to handle them. Because if we're going to increase faith in these difficult times, we have to be able to handle those times. So it is important for us to know, as Allah said in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 155, لَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. I will try you, test you with some fear, hunger, loss of wealth, loss of life, and loss of the fruits of your labor. That's what Allah told us. He will test us. So the difficult times that we're faced with, whether it was as a result, externally we see it as a result of the presence of the big man. Alhamdulillah, he's now gone. But there were trials in his time, and there will be trials after his time. Don't think that he was the source. He was just one. And Allah only permitted him to be a trial for his own reasons. If we understand that these trials are coming from Allah, then we will have the necessary qualities which will allow us to overcome those trials. Because that's what we're looking at. Increasing faith in times of difficulty. We have to be able to handle those times. So how do we handle all these trials which have been promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How are we going to handle them? Allah goes on to say in the same verse, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ, give glad tidings of paradise for those who are patient. That's the way. Patience. الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Those who, when afflicted by calamity, say, truly we belong to Allah and to Him we will return. I know most of you thought that you're supposed to say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, when somebody died, right? That's when you've been saying it, huh? That's when you have heard it. Have you ever heard anybody stub his toe, kick his foot on something and say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un? You say, what are you saying it for that for? Huh? Why would you want to do that? You know, somebody hits you and it's a pain, you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. It seems like it's too light for you to say, but that's not what Allah said. Allah said, whenever a calamity strikes, say it. But say it and mean it. Not say it as a ritual that is expected of you when you are told the news of somebody's death. Say it and mean it. We belong to Allah. So this pain which came, we know it ultimately came from Allah. And if we are patient with that pain, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said what? The believer, if the believer suffers any pain, even if it is only a thorn which sticks in your foot, you were walking without shoes around the house, somebody left a tack, you stepped on it, or a glass broke and a little piece was still there, it stuck in your foot. He said that if you are patient with it, it wipes away sin. It erases sin. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah. Something so simple as that would erase sin. But it's not so simple, because you have to get a hold of yourself, right? You have to make sure you get a hold of yourself and you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, or you say Subhanallah, or you say Allahu Akbar, instead of, what do other people say? Jesus! Right? This is what we see in the movies. This is what people say, Jesus Christ! A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah that would come out of our mouths. Or some people say, God damn it! God did it. You're cursing, God damn it, God did it. You're off. You're off. So, this thing of patience becomes very, very critical for us to be able to handle the difficult times. And the Prophet ﷺ, he gave us a win-win formula to govern those difficulties and to govern all the aspects of our lives. You all know about win-win, right? You've heard about win-win. Normally people function with win-lose. I win, you lose. You win, I lose. So people like Stephen Covey and others have said, well, if it can be you win and I win, that's even better. That's the best circumstance, where you win and I win. Isn't it? Does that make sense or not? Win-win. Well, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he gave us the win-win principle 1,400 years ago. He said, عجبا لأمر المؤمن إن أمره كله خير وليس ذلك إلا لأحد وليس ذلك لأحد إلا للمؤمن. The affair of the believer is amazing. The whole of his life or her life is beneficial, and that is only in the case of the believer. إن أصابته سراء شكر فكان خيرا له وإن أصابته ضراء صبر فكان خيرا له. When good times comes to him or her, they are thankful and it is good for them. And when bad times befall them, they are patient and it's good for them. Patience, the key. Patience, to be thankful when the good comes, is also the key. We are thankful to Allah when the good comes. We don't forget Allah. And you have to be patient to be able to do that. And then to handle the trial, of course, that is the patience that we all are familiar with. So, considering that we want to be able to handle all of the trials of our life so that we will be able to increase our faith during those trials. We have to be clear on the fact that faith increases and decreases. Faith increases and it decreases. That's why we said we're about increasing faith in times of difficulty. It means that we're recognizing that faith can decrease. Faith does decrease. That is the nature of human beings. And the Prophet ﷺ had said, every heart is covered by a cloud, like a cloud covering the full moon, which causes it to suddenly go dark. But when it passes by, the moon shines again. This is a simile, a metaphor which the Prophet ﷺ used to speak about the weakening of faith and its strengthening. In another simile, he said, faith wears out in your hearts just as clothes wear out. So ask Allah to renew the faith in your hearts. Ask Allah to renew the faith in your hearts. So Allah, renew the faith in our hearts. So, knowing that faith decreases and increases, and this is a description of how it takes place, why does it take place? Well, if we know what increases faith is good deeds, very simple formula. It's not research that we have to do to figure out what will increase faith. You have to study all the books of hadith and all the Quran from top to bottom and sit under scholars for years to find out how does faith increase. No. We have it very simply. Faith increases by good deeds. And faith decreases by evil deeds. So, the simple answer to the question that we had in the very beginning, increasing our faith in difficult times. How do we increase our faith in difficult times? Simple. Do good deeds, avoid evil deeds. That's the simple formula. I could have said that at the very beginning, we could have all packed up and gone home. Right? Very simple. Faith increases with good deeds and decreases with evil deeds. So, what we need to do is to increase our good deeds. But in order to do that, to increase our good deeds and decrease our evil deeds, we have to ask ourselves, why are we here? The title of the lecture was Increasing Our Faith in Difficult Times. But now, you have to ask yourself, why are you here? Is it to be entertained? This is Islamic entertainment. Or just to socialize, to see your old school friends and that, you haven't seen them for a while. Nice to see so and so. Hi, how are you doing? Or is it because your group of friends were all coming, so you said, okay, I better come too. You know, you want to be part of the group. Or romance. You come and look for a husband, come and look for a wife, potential. And then some of you coming, I never seen Bilal Phillips in live up, you know. I've seen him on the TV, I've seen him on this, that. I never seen him live. Okay, let me go see Bilal Phillips. You know? That's what BP is, huh? Or is it to do good deeds? To boost your iman. These are good. The others are not necessarily bad. They're not necessarily bad. Because it's better that you come here and be entertained with something which will touch your iman somehow. You know, you hear something, you're reminded about Allah, etc. Better that than going to a club or going to do something which is displeasing to Allah. And if you're socializing with Muslims who are trying to practice Islam, it's a good thing for you to be around them. Prophet ﷺ said, get married. Didn't he? Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, O young people, whoever amongst you is able, get married. So it's not bad to come look for a wife or a husband. And it's not a bad thing to come see me live, and I get the chance to see you guys live also. It's not bad. The context. But we have to understand from it all what is the real benefit from this gathering. That ultimately, if we didn't come prepared to make a change this afternoon, we will have wasted our time. We should have come to want to learn something which could make a change in our lives. Because if we have been to other lectures before, when Dr. Zakir Naik came here, you went. Other lectures given by other speakers, Abu Usama Zahabi came, he gave talks, you went. And you keep going, but it hasn't changed you. You haven't made any form of change. Then you wonder, how can I preserve my faith in difficult times? You're deluding yourself. Obviously, some change has to take place. Change which has to do with us. Otherwise, if we keep doing the same things and we are expecting some different results, this is called, in psychology, obsessive behavior. Obsessive behavior. In common speech, we say you're banging your head against a wall. You keep banging your head on the wall, it's only your head's gonna hurt all the time. It's not gonna affect the wall, it's not gonna break the wall, your head is just gonna keep hurting. So, you have to be conscious of change if we are to be able to survive this circumstance of trials and difficulties for our faith. The only way is to recognize that a change must take place. And that change doesn't have to take a long time. That change, in fact, is instantaneous. It's only for you to decide while you're here that I'm going to change. Once we decide that we're going to change, then it's just a matter of doing what's necessary to make the change after that. Because change takes as long as we make it change. Make it take. We're the ones who determine ultimately how long it takes to change. If we constantly make excuses, and that's what people end up doing. They know they need to change, they're supposed to make the change, but they keep making excuses Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, maybe day after tomorrow. Maybe next week. Maybe next month. And so it goes on and on and on. But if we understand that the change can take place in an instant, at any time, we need to also understand whether this change should be from the inside out or from the outside in. From the inside out or from the outside in. Now, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had told us that for change to take place from the outside, it is a reality and it is possible. In fact, change has to take place both from the outside in as well as from the inside out. Because we said that patience was the key to deal with difficulties, trials. Patience. As Allah said, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give glad tidings to those who are patient. And we don't become patient by wanting to become patient. It just doesn't come like that. We have to make an effort. We have to do something. And the Prophet ﷺ said, وَمَن يَتَصَبَّرْ يُصَبِّرْهُ اللَّهُ. Whoever pretends to be patient, then Allah will grant him or her patience. Whoever pretends to be patient, Allah will grant him or her patience. Now, some people might say, okay, that's like a hypocrite, really. That's a hypocrite. The principle of change from the outside in or the inside out. We said Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had advised us that if we pretend to be patient, eventually we will become patient. Some people might say this is a kind of hypocrisy, but actually it isn't. It would be hypocrisy if we were just doing it for others and not with the intention of trying to become patient. But Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had told us that if we give that external image of patience, eventually it will become a habit. So when difficult times come, okay, just leave it. When difficult times come, we pretend to be patient. Every time we're faced with a difficulty, we pretend to be patient. Then, eventually, it will become a habit for us to be patient. It's not hypocrisy. It will become a habit. Because you have to have the intention, if you have the intention to be patient, eventually you will become patient. Because the vast majority of us are not born with patience. So where does it come from? Praying for patience alone will not give it to us. I'm not saying we don't pray, we should pray too. But the Prophet ﷺ gave us that formula. And if we apply it, we will see the realities of patience. Actually, with any of the qualities that we want to develop, if we try to do them, to act as if we have them, with the intention of trying to achieve them, to gain them, then eventually we will get it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that change needs to be from within. He said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. So the change needs to come from within. So we need to make the change from both within as well as from without. From both sides. The fundamental change ultimately has to be from within. And of course, when we're talking about the changes from within, we're talking about the heart. The change which is coming from our heart. As Allah said, the day on which neither wealth nor children will benefit except one who comes to Allah with a sound heart. That's all that's going to benefit us. If we don't come with that sound heart, then nothing of what we had in this life will benefit us at all. And Nu'man ibn Bashir, he quoted the Prophet ﷺ as saying, indeed, in the body there is a clump of flesh. If it becomes good, the whole body becomes good. And if it goes bad, then the whole body goes bad. Indeed, it is the heart. Ala wa hiya al-qalb. So this is the foundation of the change. The change that has to be from within us. And that change involves developing new habits. Developing new habits. We're already fixed in a set of habits, habitual practices, actions, customs, etc. We can't make the change with those same customs. We have to change those traditions, our traditional behavior. We have to develop new habits. So, if we are to develop new habits, we can follow the 6-point principle for the development of new habits. One, it's the thought. Habits can start from just a general thought which comes from anywhere. Then that thought is focused on. So from here we want to change, we need to, that is our thought, focused thought. Then we make a decision that yes, when I leave this hall, I will change. I will change myself. Inshallah. Then when we go out, we turn that decision into actions. We start to do things which are different from what we used to do. We have to bring in new actions to make the change. And then we continue to do those actions, and then they become our habits. So, if we look briefly at habits that we can do, new habits that we can develop, the first I would suggest is reflecting on the Quran. We have all read the Quran. We read it in Ramadan. We read it on certain occasions, etc. But for the most part, we read it without reflection. We read it as a habit, but we read it without reflection. We need to change that to a reading with reflection. Because the Quran itself has the ability to cure our spiritual illnesses. Because our disobedience to Allah and etc., this is spiritual illness. This is not physical. This is something wrong with our heart. And Allah said, Surah Al-Isra, verse 82, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. I sent down from the Quran what is a cure and a mercy for the believers. Also in Surah Yunus, verse 57, O mankind, or humankind, good advice has come to you from your Lord, and a cure for what is in the chests, and guidance and mercy for the believers. Shifa'un lima fis sudur. That's how Allah describes it. Shifa'un, a cure for what is in the hearts. So that cure only works if we reflect on the meanings of the Quran itself. Allah warned us about reading without pondering, without reflecting. He described those of us who do that as having their hearts locked up. They've blocked themselves from the message which Allah had intended for us to benefit from. So, change our way of reading. Ramadan, don't worry about trying to read the whole Quran in Arabic. You've been taught how to read Arabic, you read the Quran. Don't try to read the whole Quran, because you cannot read the whole Quran and reflect on it in Ramadan. It's too much. At least in the beginning. If you can read the whole of Surah Al-Baqarah and reflect on its meanings, you have done a wonderful thing. What do I mean? When you read the Arabic verse, read the English verse. So, whatever is being said, it's going into your head. Inshallah, it will go into your hearts. So we need to start reading the Quran, reflecting on its meaning. Change our old habit of just reading like a parrot. Secondly, we should develop an awareness of Allah's might. That He is the one ultimately who can change our circumstance, protect us from evil, provide for us the good, so we don't have to become impatient and do what is displeasing to Him out of desperation. Thirdly, we should seek knowledge. Seek other sources of knowledge. Allah told us, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Indeed, of Allah's servants, it is the scholars who truly fear Him. We should strive to become scholars of Islam. And it's a relative term. Scholar is a relative term. As much as you can to gain as much knowledge of the deen as you can. And together with others in remembering Allah. This is one of the gatherings. It's a gathering of remembrance of Allah. And to remember Allah individually, the adhkar that we do them again with reflection. The purpose of those adhkar are to be conscious of Allah. But if the adhkar are only done at the end of salah, we ritualistically run over our fingers. We have beads, we're clicking beads. We're not even conscious of what we're saying. You can carry on another conversation with somebody whilst doing your fingers and flicking your beads. That tells you, where's your mind? Your mind is somewhere else. Better to say Subhanallah walhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, understanding what you have said. You're in a hurry? Better to say that than believe me, that other one is of no value. It's totally useless. In fact, it may be an insult to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because instead of saying Subhanallah, you're saying Splallah. Instead of saying Alhamdulillah, you're saying Hamblab. Instead of saying Allahu Akbar, you're saying Lakbar. What is that? What is that? It's actually a big shame. We should be very shy. We should be very shy to do this. It's become a habit now. We're doing it traditionally and we're just carrying on with it. But it's something we should be ashamed of. And then, of course, as we said in the very beginning, we should try to increase our righteous deeds. Start to develop new habits in terms of prayers, whether it's getting up for tahajjud at night, praying additional prayers around the fard prayers that we pray, not just praying the fard. Of course, it's not an obligation, it's a recommendation. And also to reflect on death. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave us many advices concerning reflection on death, because when we forget death, we think we're going to live forever. This is when we become negligent. So it is recommended for us, Prophet ﷺ recommended it for us to go to the graveyard to help reflect and to remember the end. Once we establish new deeds, then we should know, as the Prophet ﷺ had said, the deeds most beloved to Allah are those done regularly, even if they're small. Now, when we step out of here, we don't necessarily want to try to take on huge deeds, and we're going to do everything. It's better to take small portions and work on it until it becomes a new habit, then add to it gradually. Let it be a gradual development. And among the things that we should bring into our lives, which many of us have missing, is sujood ash-shukr. Sujood ash-shukr. Now this was a sunnah muakkada. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to do it all the time. Whenever a good thing happened, good things came, he would fall down on the ground and prostrate. And this prostration doesn't require wudu. A woman doesn't have to be wearing hijab. You don't have to even be facing the qibla. Wherever you are, however, you can make that sujood. Sujood ash-shukr. That is, make the sujood, say Subhanallah or Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, reflecting and thanking Allah for whatever good came to you at that time or later in your life. This is a habit, a new habit, which we all should develop. And as students, we need to change our approach to study. There are two principles in study as well as in work which Muslims, those who believe and those who are working to come closer to Allah, etc., will strive for. On one hand, it is honesty. It is honesty. How many of you here are students? Put your hand up. Let me see. You're students. Okay, you're students here in this university, etc. Okay. Now, how many of you can raise your hand and say, Wallahi, I have never cheated on any test or examination? Okay? You laugh. Okay, settle down. Settle down, please. Settle down. Settle down. Settle down. Please, please. Settle down. This is the reality. This is the bitter truth. The bitter truth. None of you are able to raise his or her hand and say, swearing by Allah. You might raise your hand, but you're not going to swear by Allah and say it, right? Swearing by Allah that you have never cheated on any test or examination. So what does that mean? What does that mean for your future? When I ask people, what's the problem of the Gambia? People say it's corruption. You know, from the big man down. Corruption. But reality is what? If we remove the big man, as we did, and the people with him, and we replace them with you, are things going to be better? This is the reality. So at what time, at what point will the Gambia change? When this society will really advance and be a society pleasing to Allah. How and when is that going to take place? It has to start with you. It has to start with you. If you cannot let go of cheating, and the Prophet ﷺ had said what? Man ghashana falaysa minna. Whoever cheats us is not of us. Not a true Muslim. Cheating is not one of the qualities of a true Muslim. So when we talk about leaving here and changing, this is a primary area which is essential for all of you to develop. Cheating should stop for you here. Do you want to change? See, that's a very weak yes. Yes. You know, when you're watching the football game and the guy scores, do you say, yay? No. You would say, yeah! Okay, so come on. Do you want to change? Yes. Okay, that's better. So if you really want to change, I want you to join me and raise your hands. Raise your hands. Come on. You want to change. If you really want to change, raise your hands. Okay, repeat after me. Wallahi. See all the hands going down already. Come on. Let's make that happen. Come on now. Raise those hands. The hands are all gone down now. Come on, get the hands back up there again. If you really want to change, come on, put the hand up. Not this one. This is not a hand up. Huh? This is a thought. Come on, get those hands up. Be serious. Be serious now. Okay, repeat after me. Wallahi. Wallahi. Come on, people. Come on, get the hands up. Get them up. Again, wallahi. Still weak. Wallahi. Come on. Come on. Wallahi. I will not cheat on any test or examination from today onwards. Okay. All right, people. Okay. All right, settle down. Settle down. Okay. That's between you and Allah. Inshallah, I hope in the future I will visit your university again. And when I visit you and ask this question, I will see many hands raised, ready to say that from the 10th of March, 2017, I have not cheated on any test or examination. Inshallah. This is your future. This is the future of your nation. And it's you before Allah. Don't think that you can worship Allah and be a good Muslim and you are cheating on your examinations. These are contradictions. It contradicts. You say, but it's only the exam. No. It's cheating human beings. You cheat human beings, you're cheating Allah. That's what the bottom line is. So, honesty is, as they say, the best policy. This was the way of the Prophet ﷺ. That's what he was known as. Al-Amin. So we should be striving to develop that quality of being trustworthy and honest. Then the other principle for study as well as for work, the other principle is that of perfection of our work. We are only cheating because we are not good students. We have not studied properly. We're sleeping in class. We're not doing our assignments. We're not revising our material. We leave everything until the night before the exam. The night before the exam, we try to cram it all into our heads. We know we can't. So we start writing things on paper, on our hands, on our socks or whatever. You know, that's what sends us there. If we were good students, doing our studies in the best way, meaning that when you sit in a class, you take your notes, you revise those notes on a weekly basis, so when the time for exam comes, it's not everything the night before. You're only doing a review. You're not actually studying from fresh. The material that you took in the class, you've forgotten it all, now you're trying to stick it back into your heads. You know, it becomes your way. You know, either you do it with what they call itqan, doing it the best way, as the Prophet ﷺ had said, "Inna Allah yuhibbu min ahadikum idha amila amalan an yutqina." Allah loves from each and every one of you, whenever you do anything, you do it to the best of your ability. That's itqan. That is perfecting your efforts, your work, perfecting it. If you do that, you don't have to cheat. There's no need. That would be the farthest thing from your mind. Of course, you have to have also the desire, and that's why we say it starts with the heart. So we hope that, inshallah, the principles that we have outlined this afternoon, principles which govern increasing our faith in difficult times, understanding what faith is and what we need to do to increase it, what kind of deeds we need to do, And also, in closing, I just want to add also that the company you keep will also determine the type of person you are, where your faith is. If your friends are those who are only talking about the dunya all the time, they're only talking about big car, nice house, chicken, whatever, right? That's all they're talking about, going for a meal. It's just dunya things, then they're going to make that your conversation. It's going to bring you down. So you need to be around people who are going to remind you of Allah, trying to do righteous deeds, increasing your righteous deeds, doing good things, things which are beneficial to yourselves and to the society, being charitable, etc., etc. So be careful about who you take as your friends. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Seeking knowledge, an obligation made easy. Thought about studying for a long time? Tuition fees keeping you from actually starting? Islamic Online University has led a revolution in online learning. The world's first tuition-free degree, BA in Islamic Studies. Access the knowledge, any place, anytime, anywhere. It just doesn't get any easier than that. Classes, texts, assignments, completely online. Set your own schedule for the semester. No overseas travel required for the exams. Subjects taught by qualified English-speaking scholars. Weekly live sessions and virtual classrooms. With curricula based on those in Al Medina University in Saudi Arabia, Al Azhar University in Cairo, and other reputable institutions around the world. Why wait any longer? You pay just a symbolic registration fee and are ready to begin the adventure of higher education. The most diverse student body of any university in the world. 130,000 plus registered students from 217 countries. Log in to the website for more details. www.islamiconlineuniversity.com